Happy New Year and welcome. I'm Brad Villers. As you may know, the Greek word Sophia means wisdom, and that will be the ultimate focus of my message and content as we move forward, which is why what you'll hear here will likely and hopefully be very different from what you find elsewhere on matters of personal finance. Of course, there are many elements to at least what should go into a well-reasoned belief and decision about money, but I believe that wisdom is by far the single most important, thus the name I chose for this humble effort. And I think the most efficient proof of that claim can be made through the meaning of the word. So here are the pertinent parts of the definition of wisdom. First, the capacity of judging rightly in matters relating to life and conduct, soundness of judgment in the choice of means and ends, sometimes, less strictly, sound sense, especially in practical affairs, and opposite to folly. Second, knowledge, enlightenment, learning, erudition, and I particularly like this one, also practical knowledge or understanding. And finally, wise discourse or teaching. Of course, we can't discount the details of the particular financial vehicle, strategy, investment, or whatever it might be that we're contemplating, and that is what I will refer to as the math. It's all of the specifics of whatever the thing it is we're evaluating. Now, we'll be talking plenty about the math, which is, of course, extremely important, but there is no better place to start a discussion about wisdom than with mindset, because a proper mindset is the prerequisite of wisdom. To give the subject of mindset the respect it deserves, I put together something I call Tenets of the Receptive Mind, with the goal of highlighting in more specific terms what it means to possess the type of mindset that allows us to identify and make rational judgments about our finances. So without further ado, here are my tenets of the receptive mind, which I'll be posting both as a single piece as well as one tenet a day for the next few days. First is the desire and ability to do your own thinking. When we engage in authentic, independent, informed thinking, we come to understand that in many cases, the entirety of our beliefs and mindsets have been acquired through no independent process of our own, and instead are inherited from parents, friends, teachers, employers, and others. In doing so, we also come to terms with the stark reality that beliefs are immensely powerful forces and can be traumatic to separate our identities from. To test this, think of a core belief you have and see if you can honestly consider information that may challenge it. Then I'd ask you to ponder how you came to hold that belief. Was it through your own investigation and formation of opinion, or did you absorb it from some other source? Second is embracing cognitive dissonance. Now, this is a term I went fully 4 decades of my life without having any knowledge of, so for those of you who may not be familiar with it, cognitive dissonance is the stress we experience when we consider two contradictory ideas. Now, I've heard it defined as simply holding two contradictory ideas, but I think it's important to point out that it's more specifically the stress or discomfort we feel when doing so. The key here is that the natural human response to hearing points of view that conflict with our beliefs or mindsets is to reject them, which is the result of us having our identities so intertwined with our beliefs that we feel threatened when they are threatened. So the state we want to work toward is being able to embrace that feeling, move beyond emotional reactions into a place where we can evaluate that new information with logic and reason because we've come to terms with the fact that we are not our beliefs. Third is what I call practicing pedestal thinking. When we go to a museum, we'll often see artifacts displayed in these glass pedestal cases that allow us to view that object from multiple vantage points, and they typically have one interesting feature, and that is good lighting. They are well illuminated. When we apply this to our thinking, this is akin to putting information or knowledge on that pedestal and proceeding to simply observe it. Consider it from different angles, walk away from it, and then return to it. And here's the key, all without judging it. Aristotle said that it is the mark of an educated mind to be able to contemplate an idea without accepting it. And I'd comment that I'd add, and I've heard this before, I'd agree with changing that to accepting or rejecting it. Fourth is exercising discernment. Discernment takes 2 forms, the first of which is being prudent in our selection of the information and knowledge we consume. It's a huge one because we naturally seek confirmation of our existing beliefs and want to avoid that stress and discomfort of cognitive dissonance I talked about earlier. So the question to ask yourself here is, What is an honest assessment of the quality of sources and content of information I take in? And here's another one, but it can be a little bit more uncomfortable to answer, which is, what process did I go through to arrive at the sources of information I consume? Or was there no process and I'm simply imitating what others are doing? The second form of discernment is one that I admit I personally struggle with, and that is not only being open to but seeking out information from sources we otherwise might completely reject. An example here would be the ability to recognize worthwhile and interesting material from a source you generally disagree with and/or may not even like. Fifth is recognizing the impact of conditioning and external influences. Now, this is one I think we understand, but really don't. If we invest the time and effort, we'll discover that many things we've never even questioned have histories, natures, and characters far different than we've been led to believe. This exists in the micro when we examine individuals and organizations, but also applies to the macro level as we come to understand institutions and constructs. As an example, I'd point to the Federal Reserve System because even a cursory review of the circumstances and parties surrounding its creation paints an entirely different picture than the popular narrative we've been given. The sixth and final tenet of the receptive mind is allowing and ultimately welcoming anarchy of the mind. Now, just uttering the A word may induce fear, but always remember that contrary to our indoctrination, anarchy is simply an, which means without, plus archy, which means rulers. So without rulers. It does not mean without rules. So this is that optimal state where we're practicing those 5 prior tenets we've discussed and are moving towards mastery of them, which yields freedom from the domination of inherited, learned belief systems and mindsets, and rewards us with the type of mindset where we can identify and make rational judgments about our finances. I hope this has reinforced not only the importance of mindset in terms of our finances, but that mindset is both more important than math or the details of the particular financial decision we're contemplating, and is the prerequisite to the development of wisdom. So get out there, exercise your receptive mind, and I'll see you next time. Be well.